Footballocks episode 9. You did that at the right time, didn't you? Yeah. Well, I hope you look forward to a fantastic episode because that's what this is going to be. Start off with a little predictions for the weekend, I think, and then we'll get on to some reviews of
Okay.
European football and the like. So let's start off nice and quick. You've got should we do it quick fire? So you've got 10 seconds to come up with a prediction, and then you come
Sure.
back and do it for me. So
Sure.
Crystal Palace Fulham.
1-1.
Ooh. Luton at home to Wolves.
2-1 Luton.
City at home to Nottingham Forest.
5-0.
Ooh. Brentford at home to Everton.
Hmm. 1-0 Bradford.
Ooh. Burnley at home to United.
3-2 Man United.
Oh, okay. Arsenal Tottenham.
Ooh, that's a tough one. 3-all, something mad.
Ooh. Brighton at
Yeah.
home to Bournemouth.
2-0 Brighton.
Chelsea at home to Villa.
Ah. Um, 2-1 Villa.
Liverpool against West Ham.
3-1 Liverpool.
And Sheffield United Newcastle.
1-0 Newcastle.
All right. I'm going to completely forget everything you just said, and we'll do it in the reverse for me.
In reverse, you want me to start with Newcastle?
No, as in like you'll
Just
just
it.
do it to me basically.
Okay. Palace Fulham.
2-0 Palace.
Luton Wolves.
3-1 Wolves.
City Forest.
4-1 City.
4-1 Forest goal.
I want Taiwanese.
Brentford Everton.
2-1 Brentford.
Burnley United.
0-0.
Whoa, that's crazy, man.
Mm-hmm.
Arsenal Tottenham.
3-1 Arsenal.
Brighton Bournemouth.
3-2 Brighton.
Chelsea Villa.
1-0 Villa.
Villa clean sheet. You mental. Liverpool West Ham.
2-2 Desmond.
And Sheffield Newcastle.
2-1 Newcastle.
Okay.
I can't even remember.
So
What did you say for Sheffield Newcastle?
I said 1-0 Newcastle. I think
Okay.
that'll be tight. Sheffield seem to be Sheffield United seem
They stay in late in
to
games,
be
don't they?
like they obviously sit back and defend, but they seem to be doing all right. They're at home, so I think they'll defend pretty well. But Newcastle eventually get them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Back from the technical difficulties.
So yeah, I asked you what I said that you thought Arsenal are going to beat Tottenham.
Yes. 3-1. I think Tottenham will cause them a few problems, but I think ultimately they don't have a good enough starting nine to really occupy Saliba and Gabriel.
Yeah,
I think they'll be solid enough defensively.
yeah. I said 3-3, but I do think Arsenal are the better team and they're at home, so I think Arsenal probably will actually win. But
Yeah, that's the
Tottenham will
beauty of the
score.
quickfire.
Yeah, Tottenham will score a couple, I think.
Yeah, I've done a couple FPL changes that reflect my belief in Tottenham to some extent. But there you go. Yeah. So you were quite surprised by my Burnley United 0-0.
Yeah, 0-0.
I
I think
just
there'll be
think
goals in
there's
that.
a bit of a story there with company. Burnley just got
Hmm.
their first point. I think they'll put up a good fight, and United are a bit of a shambles at the moment. So even though they scored 3 goals against Bayern, I could just see Burnley just hanging in there for a 0-0.
Yeah, don't know. It's hard to predict, isn't it? It basically does depend on how Burnley approach the game. Because my reasoning is that I think, based on Burnley playing at home, they tend to want to play on the front foot, it will leave plenty of space for United to get in behind, and United will just end up making a few goals. But like you say, if Burnley go a bit more pragmatic, then United might struggle.
especially because
So
United have a lot of injuries as well. So could
yeah,
be an interesting one. But anyway, we won't spend too long on that because we've got to talk about very disappointing week for Villa. 3-2
yeah.
loss
Well,
against Legia Warsaw. We did
yeah,
outshoot them, but only managed the same XG. So it seemed like it was. I mean, I did watch it, but I was kind of busy at the same time and didn't really get to pay full attention. We just it's hard. It's hard. It's hard talking about when we lose, but every time they countered, I was scared. From the very first one where they scored, they bypassed our press just like that, and we didn't press them when they started to get into our final third. We just kind of stood off them. I just got
mm,
like visions of Liverpool, and it just happened all over again. We just
yeah.
didn't
It
close
seems to
down,
be a
didn't
bit of a
fill the
theme.
gaps. Yeah,
Yeah, we just don't seem to be defending very well, basically. And if teams go at us, then there's plenty of space for them to find, and they did.
yeah. It's not much more you can say. Just kept counter attacking us, and we just didn't change anything. We just
Yeah.
kept standing off. There was one point where I can't remember which player was for Warsaw, but there was Konza and two other defenders all stood right in front of the attacker. No other attacker next to him, and he just literally sprinted straight at them and went through the middle of them. And then Konza nearly took him out for a penalty, and we were lucky the ref didn't call it. I was like, what? Where have the players gone that got clean sheets consistently last season?
Yeah, that's the weird thing is that we started the season, conceded 5 goals, but you think it's Newcastle away, it's first game of the season, new centre backs, Mings injury, blah blah blah. But it's now becoming a trend rather than a one-off where we just don't seem to be able to defend, and it's coming off the back of the last 10, 12 games of the season where we kept like 5 or 6 clean sheets. We were properly solid. Um,
Yeah, big
Offside trap
teams were
was working
struggling.
beautifully. Yeah,
Mm.
wasn't yeah, it didn't matter the opponent. But yeah, something major has changed, and now we can't even. It's not even that we're playing Newcastle and Liverpool. It's like we're going to Legia Warsaw, and we're still conceding goals.
From what I can tell, it's not a tactical thing; it's a mental thing in the players. From
Right.
like how I see it, I think the game plan's still the same, but everything's just in the moments where we need to have that intensity and we need to step it up a level, we still seem to want to be as lackadaisical as we sometimes are when we kind of just stand there with the ball at the back and wait for things to
Mm.
open up. Like I get being calm and slowing the game down, but that doesn't mean you don't try still. Like I think possibly there's something there. Maybe it's just the pressure that's mounted up because everyone's been talking about how we're favourites for this and how we might push for Europe again this season. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
think it's probably
exactly what
like a
it is. Mm,
complicated mix of everything, isn't it?
yeah,
Personnel definitely makes a difference as well because Mings was not only obviously a good defender and much more physical than any of our other defenders, but he was also very vocal. And we played last season an offside trap, which is a system where you need to be super coordinated and organized. And
yeah,
then losing Mings, you lose the guy who is organising the defence for you. And yeah, the personnel will make a difference because you need, if you're playing an offside trap, you need to be coordinated. And if you
yeah.
stick a new defender in there, it just
It is a
throws
very
things
good
out of
point. We
balance.
don't have a leader in that back line. Like Pau Torres could maybe be a leader someday, but you don't take a guy like that, especially probably doesn't speak the language that well, and isn't necessarily the most physical guy and suited to the league as well, and just chuck him straight in a leadership role. Even if
No.
he was in a leadership role, I think he'd struggle to begin with anyway. Konza is someone I see as a bit more of a reserved character as well.
Yeah.
Like I think he
Yeah.
worked well with Mings because he was happy to let Mings take the lead and dictate how the defense is going to line up and sort of where it's going to be, where the sort of emphasis is going to be in terms of when to push, when to drop back, etc., and
Mm.
coordinating that back line. So, yeah, if you're missing that, I can see that's why that would be an issue. But it's just those moments, as I was saying, where that guy ran through three of us, and it was just like there's no excuse for that. It's
Yeah.
someone has to step up and say, "I'm going to put a foot in. I'm going to make a challenge." Like you can't just stand and watch.
No. Yeah, it's odd. It's odd that we've just lost intensity a little bit.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. I think it's obviously a little bit concerning, but I'm glad that these kind of issues are coming up at the start of the season. I think
Yeah,
there's plenty of time for us to iron these things out. Like we do have quite a few new players, which always takes time.
yeah,
So I think I'm not overly concerned. I've got faith that it'll come together, but it's. I mean, we're playing group games now, so we can't let it slip too much because we want to get through
yeah.
the group.
You do that one more time, and all of a sudden you
Yeah,
basically playing catch up to try and
yeah,
qualify. And
yeah,
given how everyone was predicting our European campaign would go this year, that would be more than embarrassing. So
yeah,
I suppose there is, like, on the one side you can look at it and you can say, well, Newcastle away, based off last season, is a tough game. But then you look at the rest of the games they played and they look well off the pace.
yeah,
And then you can say, oh well, look at the game against Liverpool. That's a great Liverpool side. But it was the manner of the defeats. It was the way we just didn't seem to want to give
yeah,
it a go. Like,
yeah,
just seemed to be just too standoffish and lackadaisical. I'm fine with losing those games if we look like we're playing well, but we just didn't
yeah. And then
at all.
we beat Palace last week, but we were losing for until the 88th minute or something. Which I think like it was overall a decent performance. We
Yeah, it
created
took a
more.
wonder goal from a wonder kid to inspire us to actually do something.
Yeah, um, it was like we had enough chances to win the game overall.
Yeah,
But yeah, it wasn't until the 87th minute that we started like picking up the intensity. And we didn't defend well in that game either. And it's Palace at home. While like Palace do seem like quite a good team this year, like that should be much more comfortable. It's not just that it's Liverpool away and it's Newcastle away. We don't have the intensity in those games, and then even in games where you're expecting to be comfortable and you expect to be on the front foot, we're like losing to Palace till the 88th minute or something. So there's definitely something a little bit concerning going on.
yeah. It was a shame I didn't watch the Palace game. Actually, it would have been amazing to at the end of that game to experience.
Yeah, I
Did you
was
watch it
I was in the
live?
car. I was
Oh,
listening to it in the car. It was mad though because um, we equalised, and I got the people were telling me that we'd equalised, but I wasn't even that excited because I was like, we still should be winning the game. It's kind of annoying that we even have to equalise in the last minute.
yeah,
Um, but then it was like, and we've got news from Villa Park in the 96th minute, and I was like, fuck. And then he was like, it's a penalty, but then they just let that hang for a while, and they didn't say who the fucking penalty was for.
yeah,
And then they were like, it's a Villa penalty, Douglas Luiz stepping up. And I was like, yeah, I was buzzing. I was buzzing in the car, but yeah, I wish I could have watched it.
yeah. It would have been a great watch.
Yeah.
A tough, an emotional one, but a great watch at the
Yeah, I
same
would have
time.
been fucking stressed out.
Because I think, yeah, when you look at the stats and you go XG, I know we always talk about, it's not the be all and end all, but when you look at the XG, I'm pretty sure we did dominate that game from an XG perspective
Yeah,
as
the
well.
thing is with
So
the XG from that game though is that we had the Bailey chance where he scored in the very last minute would have been quite high, and the penalty would have been quite high. So I think
yeah,
before we went 2-1 up, I think we still would have been up because I watched the highlights
yeah,
and the stats in general. I think we did create more chances on balance. On balance, we were the better team, but our XG was boosted a fair bit by the last like 5 minutes.
yeah,
But yeah, I
absolutely.
think we were the better team overall, and we probably deserved to win it, but way more dicey than it should have been.
Hmm. Do you think back to last year? They kept on getting in behind our back line with Zaha and Elise
Yeah,
putting the balls in as well. But I never really was that worried that we were going to lose.
no,
We it just felt like we are going to win, and it's just slightly different this year. It's
yeah, that's the difference. Last year, especially in the back end, we had that we had that confidence, and you had that weird feeling that you like never really have as a Villa fan, where you think
Mm.
no matter what team we're playing, we'll put in a performance, we've got a chance, and no matter how the game's going, you think we'll get an opportunity to carve some out here. But now it does feel different because it feels like we can concede at any minute, and it feels. I mean, to be fair, the chances are still going in. We're still scoring goals, but mainly
Yeah,
it's the fact that the games just seem to not be in our own hands because we make stupid defensive errors, basically.
yeah. Like
Um,
it's still good that we're creating chances and that our attacking play is effective,
yeah,
but we'd have a lot more opportunities to do that and be more clinical with those if we had the confidence that the guys behind us are going to keep things tight and therefore lose possession less,
yeah,
gain more opportunity to progress the ball and put it in the box. So overall, we could be doing even better if we can sort our defence out, even from an attacking perspective,
yeah,
because sometimes the defence is the best platform for attack. So yeah, overall, want to see some improvements defensively. Attacking wise, still promising. Not too worried for the whole of the season, but I would like to see some active changes or acknowledgement at least from Emery that things
yeah.
aren't,
Something's got to change
yeah,
for sure.
something's
Like
wrong and that needs
it's
fixing.
not major at this point.
Mm.
Um, it's not hugely concerning, but you know, if something doesn't change in the next few weeks, then you're thinking we can't go the whole season being this team that concedes 2 goals a game.
Yeah.
So yeah, something's got to change. I think Chelsea will be an interesting one because um, it's a team where away at Chelsea, based on their current performance, isn't a super hard game, but the players they've got, especially considering our defense is weak, like they can definitely do some damage. Um,
Well, isn't Kunku still injured?
he is, yeah.
Mm. I think their midfield is good enough to control the game, but I still think their attack, unless Sterling's on form, doesn't
Yeah,
really
well,
offer enough threat
their attack is
to really scare
it's
you.
like one of those where on paper their attack seems like all right to me, but it's just that Jackson and Sterling have not been putting the ball in the net. Basically, like Jackson's just
Well,
missed
Sterling
so many
has
horrendous chances.
on a few occasions already this season. He's starting to look back to his best a bit. I can't
A
remember
little
which
bit,
game it
but
was
still
where
majorly
he and
inconsistent.
Gusto basically tore one of the teams apart. Was it just Luton Town actually?
I think it was Luton.
Yeah, so that's
Um,
that's a bit void really even then, isn't it? Because
yeah, and last week they drew with Bournemouth 0-0. That they just couldn't. They had chances.
yeah, the
They
week
hit the
before they
post a couple of
lost
times.
to, was it West Ham? They lost to.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I'd like to double check that real quick. Who did they lose to? Can't remember.
But yeah, it's like if we defend as badly as we have been, Jackson and Sterling will get chances, and
Yeah, they
we're
lost to
basically putting it
Forest and West
their
Ham.
hands whether they get a result or not. I think
Yeah, we essentially all we need to do against Chelsea is defend well, and we
that's
will
the thing. I think
likely
it's a
have
good
too much.
opportunity for us to change things. It's a good opportunity for us to take a slightly different approach and say if we can defend well, we will absolutely create enough chances to win the game. If we don't defend well, they've got attackers with enough pace and directness and stuff that they will cause us problems. Whether or not they finish their chances has basically been their main problem.
Yeah,
Is up to them. But if we don't defend well, they will get loads of chances, and there's a decent chance that we lose the game if we don't defend well. I think.
yeah. Let's look at. I mean, the Nottingham Forest game, their last home game. Was it? Were they at home to Bournemouth? No, they were away at Bournemouth. So their last home game in the league against Nottingham Forest, where they lost 1-0. Let's just look at the stats, for example. 2.3 xg and 76% possession they had, but they couldn't put the ball in the net.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I back us to challenge for control of the game more so than Forest, of course. They had 21 shots against Forest and 2 on target. So it shows if you put a low block in, they are horrendous at trying to break it
Yeah,
down. So if Unai can make a little tactical change and say, do you know what, guys, today let's just be a nuisance. Let's use our speed to counter. let's sit back and absorb their pressure because we know if we just stick to our task, have a bit of intensity about us, they're going to struggle to put the ball in the net. And with the
Hmm.
players we have, like Watkins, even Bailey, for example, Ramsey's back now, Diaby, we can easily break
Yeah, I
them.
mean that would suit us. That would suit us. I mean, one of our best performances this season was Burnley, and that's exactly the way we played. We literally let Burnley have the ball, even though they're a newly relegated team. We're an established team. We let them have the ball, and we just exploited the space that they left, and that can definitely work against Chelsea. But yeah, relies on us defending well, basically, and it relies on us taking that approach. Like I think maybe it's complacency or something. Our problem at the moment is that we're expecting to control the game a little bit more than we're capable of doing, and it leaves space in behind. So it kind of depends on our approach
Yeah,
being okay. This is Chelsea away; they're a good team. Them having the ball is not necessarily a bad thing.
I think perhaps there's an element of conflict and contradiction in the players' minds because they're a team that we're now saying we should be pushing for Europe, and we have the talent and the players to retain possession. You know, we've brought in the likes of Pau Torres, we brought in Diaby and Tielemans. These are players that can get on the ball and control it. We already have players who can do that. But then when the tactical sort of setup for the game needs to be something more defensive, something more intense, it sort of might cause a bit of confusion with the players, not knowing necessarily when to slow the game down and hold possession, when to pick up the intensity, when to pump the ball long, play it short. I think perhaps they're still getting used to that side of things and just trying to understand
Yeah,
exactly when to do what, especially when the players that are coming in to perhaps improve our ability on the ball aren't used to having to change up that style as much in La Liga, for example. Pau Torres is probably more used to just playing the same way almost every game, which there's something to be said for that in a way. Like I think Tottenham are doing that at the moment. They just whoever they come up against, they play the same way. And even though yes, sometimes that will mean they concede goals and potentially lose a game, it's always an entertaining game. And the majority of the
yeah,
time, they score more goals than their opponent. And we
yeah,
have kind of done that to an extent, but it's not been because we've had a consistent game plan that's created us goals every time. We have switched it up and changed it a little bit, and I think maybe that's possibly causing confusion with the new boys and not everyone not having quite gelled and got that chemistry yet.
yeah,
But as we've said, there's multiple things here that we can look at and say that might be having an effect. So, in reality, instead of saying, well, it's their mentality or well, it's they're not gelled yet or they're just not good defensively, it could just be small amounts of each thing culminating in what appears to be a larger deficit than perhaps the sum of those parts would normally be.
yeah. I think so. I think yeah. There is obviously like I say, it's a bit of conflict in what the expectations are. We're trying to change the play style a little bit. We've got new players. Like it's a combination of a lot of new things, and maybe it's just yeah needs a bit of time to all meld together because there's good signs in every game. Like we always look at threat. The attacking players have improved the team massively. Like Diaby looks amazing.
Yeah, man, he looks so good. If he
Yeah, like
continues
Diaby's
at
just
this rate,
insane.
he's going to be on 20 plus goals and assists and worth 100
Yeah,
plus mil at the end of the season.
yeah, yeah. Diaby's just incredible. Like Leon Bailey's actually having a decent season. John Duran looks fucking amazing. He's like Benteke 2.0.
Yeah, do you know what the worst thing? This is completely irrelevant to real life, but well, no, not completely irrelevant. But John Duran, his best asset is clearly his volleys. Right, he's
Yeah,
incredible on the volley.
yeah,
I've been playing career mode and trying to give him games. His
yeah,
worst attribute is his volleys, and it fucking pisses me off because I just want to hit him on the bounce from like the edge of the box,
yeah.
and it just goes
He
fucking
does love a
sideways.
volley, doesn't he? I mean,
Yeah,
Benteke was good on the volley. Like he had that power and that technique to just.
yeah. The thing I like about Duran as well, he's a little more technical, a little bit uh, better with the
He's got a
ball at
bit of
his
like
feet than
flair
tackling
about him,
wise.
doesn't he?
Yeah, it's just he's kind of like the Colombian Scamacca.
How insulting, man.
Well, no, when Scamacca was good,
Yeah,
back
yeah,
in Serie A,
yeah,
he's like that big guy who isn't actually a target man, but can sort of
yeah, yeah,
will get in the air and score those chances, but is also just decent with the ball at his feet and can hit a banger. So
yeah.
I hope he can be even better, of course, because Scamacca's fallen off. But
Yeah, well, there's one thing that pundits are saying is questioning whether Duran is like due for a start in the league anytime soon.
I think start up top with Watkins wouldn't be a bad idea. The only thing is, with Ramsey coming back and the fact that I think a lot of players look to McGinn for inspiration to go and press the opposition and things like that, it's just tough to find
It's
a game
pretty
to
tight
play
up
him in.
there,
Like
isn't it?
you have to
Yeah,
find a game where you're very confident of your ability to dominate the opposition. A game like, for example, last year when we played Bournemouth at home towards the end of the season, I don't think there was one person in the country that thought Bournemouth were going to win or even challenge us. And
yeah,
that's not to say Bournemouth are a shitty club, and obviously they're better this year. But just the way we play and the sort of scope of their tactical ability, you just knew, especially with the quality of player we had as well, and the form we were
yeah.
on,
We were
there was
just
just not one doubt
completely
in
in our
anyone's
stride, weren't
mind.
we?
Yeah, and that's the kind of game where you could have brought Duran in, started him alongside of Watkins, and he could have got a couple goals and really, really started to push his profile into the um, likes of Cameron Archer level. Um,
Yeah,
I know that's weird to say because Cameron Archer still is, thought of a rotation. But Duran, up until he started scoring these couple of goals, was just a teenager that we bought.
yeah.
He wasn't a rotation player necessarily. He
No,
was just someone that was like, oh well, we've paid this money for him and he's young, so we'll give him a few
he's just
minutes at the
there.
end of
Like he
games.
was our
Yeah,
backup striker, really, wasn't he? Like, but not because we necessarily chosen him to be. He was just literally the only option we really had.
yeah. And
But
now
now he's
he
becoming an
genuinely,
option.
yeah, he's more than an option now. He's like a genuine sort of threat.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think it'd be cool to see him get a start because I mean he's been arguably performing better than Watkins. Watkins does Watkins things where he presses really well, works the channels, he's good on the ball, he kind of does everything.
mm,
But he's in one of those periods which happens with Watkins where he can't find the net, whereas Duran just gets on the pitch and scores. So it's kind of a difficult one.
well, I wouldn't go as far to say he gets on the pitch and score because he's only been 3 goals in it so far this season. Um, and he didn't score at all
Um,
last season.
I think he scored four,
Has he scored
but
four?
still,
Yeah, I wouldn't say he just comes on and scores, but it definitely looks like there's there's something there for us to say. There's proof of concept that this guy can be a sort of Benteke-like talisman up the top of the pitch. But again, as you say, Watkins offers so much that you don't want to just jump ship and say Duran's the next big thing, and then see Ollie Watkins go, well, I don't want to sign the contract then.
yeah,
So, but on the one hand, you say that and you think, well, we don't want to lose Ollie Watkins, but if we do, and he starts having a slightly reduced role, you could probably still sell him for 50 plus million in the summer and invest in a younger striker of maybe a slightly different profile to play long term alongside someone like Duran, or maybe give if Cameron Archer does pop off, you can have him, Duran, and maybe one other big striker coming in. But that's obviously completely, fabricated story based on an imaginary scenario where Watkins basically just falls off completely this season, which I don't
yeah,
think will happen considering
no,
he has got double figures for 3 seasons
yeah.
in a row now.
And like he's been playing well as well. Like he's not been scoring, but that's the thing is that he doesn't necessarily. The fact that we've signed Diaby means that and Duran's an option off the bench now who can score means that Watkins doesn't necessarily even need to be. I think we've been because he's been our out and out best striking option for a few years. We've kind of always been relying on him to get like 10, 12, 15 goals. And if he doesn't, that's a big problem. But now we're at the point where Watkins can get 10, 12 goals, and you think he's not had a brilliant goal scoring season, but because he's supported by all these other players who are scoring, then it really doesn't matter. Like
Yeah,
he's still doing good work. He won the penalty at the weekend. Like he hit the post at the weekend as well. Like he was unlucky. Um, he's still playing well. He's still getting in the right positions. He's creating chances for other people. If Watkins never becomes a 20 goal a season striker, which people are always kind of hoping that he would be, or like that he'd take a step in terms of goal scoring, if that never happens, it's not a problem as long as he's got players around him. He still offers enough to be very, very useful in the team.
yeah,
Um,
no, absolutely. I think with Watkins, he can just kind of it takes that first goal, and then
Yeah, he's streaky,
it
isn't
just
he?
starts flowing.
Yeah.
Especially now with Emery, I think he has more of an expectation of himself being that main man,
Mm,
and so it really does rely on his confidence in himself to be that main man. And so as soon as those goals start going in, I think we'll start to see, at least from an attacking perspective, we will get some more big score lines.
yeah.
Um, because with the threat that you have from Diaby and Watkins, and the difference in threat that they have, especially with Diaby being two-footed, I think he's just a couple years ahead of where Doku is, but Doku maybe has potentially even more talent.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't even realise how much talent Doku had until
Man,
he's
it's
come to
his
City.
his dribbling and his pace are just absolutely absurd.
Yeah, he looks like a sort
They're
of
mental. It's
almost
absolutely
like a
mental.
combination between Adama Traore and Riyad Mahrez or something. Like he's just
Yeah, that's the thing.
ridiculous.
He's got the same kind of dribbling ability as Traore, where he'll be stood still and then suddenly he'll be going full speed. Like it's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
and
And
he's like built as
it's
well.
yeah, and there's literally not a defender in the world that can do anything about a player like that. But then with Traore, he never really made it because he just didn't have the final ball. But Doku's
Yeah, nor the
technique is
technical
a lot
ability
better.
either. Yeah, he has the
Yeah,
technical ability, he has the finishing, the physicality, the speed. He's two-footed, both wings. He's gonna be insane. I
yeah,
can't wait to see what he becomes.
yeah,
I mean, we could swiftly move on to FPL now if you like. Talk about
yeah,
changes we've made because it's quite relevant. I did think about bringing Doku in because I didn't
yeah.
actually
I've seen
realise.
people talking about him as an option.
Yeah, I didn't realise just how many City players are injured, and I suppose
Yeah,
that kind of is maybe what ultimately made me not pick him is just because there are so many injured. As soon as they come back, he is going to be more of a rotation player. But
yeah.
someone
I can't
I've
deal with
brought
City
in,
rotation.
yeah, someone I have brought in is now Alvarez. I just think the quality he's shown over the last few games, and the conversation around him being one of the best strikers in the league now, even though he's second fiddle, the fact that he can play off both wings as well, play off in the 10 role, I think we'll see him get a lot of games, even when the likes of Foden and Grealish come back.
Yeah, I thought about Alvarez. I went for Carlton Morris instead.
Did you actually?
No, so it wasn't a direct swap, but so I thought about Alvarez. I could have got him, but I am just a little bit scared by the rotation, especially now they've just started playing Champions League. And for me to get him, I would have had to. It just would have been a bit more of a shuffle than I wanted to do, basically.
Yeah.
So I've stuck with just Haaland. Like I think Alvarez will get returns, but I've basically just banked on the rest of my team kind of covering for it because I've saved a bit of money by going for a cheap striker option. So I am playing Carlton Morris up front, which is a bit of a weird one. It's a bit of a gamble,
Yeah.
but I think he's Luton's only option. He takes their penalties. He gets a couple shots off every game from crosses into the box, and so like for 5.5, and like sometimes he won't play. Sometimes I'll play a fourth
He's
defender, whatever.
5.5 mil.
Yeah,
You didn't think Archer at 4.5 is better?
I've got Archer as well. Archer's on the
Oh, right,
bench.
okay.
I'm gonna rotate them based on fixtures or play another defender.
Yeah. So you're playing basically 4-4-2, and just whichever of Carlton Morris and Arch have a better fixture, they play alongside Haaland, who you're basically
Yeah, well, I'm
banking
playing
on.
3-5-2, but yeah, it'll be Haaland plus either Archer, Morris, or a fourth defender based on fixtures, pretty much.
Okay.
Um,
So yeah, my transfers. What are they? I took out. I did three. I took the 4 point drop because I just wanted to make a few changes. I took Mbuemo out because even though he's had a good start to the season, I
Interesting.
don't think Brentford have been as good as I thought they'd be. They haven't been as good as they were last year, and I don't know if that's going to be because people are figuring them out and they don't have the overall quality of some of the other teams that have made sustained sort of stays in the Premier League, and maybe they'll drop to the bottom half of the league this season. Not sure, or whether it's just a poor start. So I dropped him out, put Maddison in. I think you get more output over the course of the season from Maddison in this Tottenham team.
Yeah, I think if you've got to
Swaps,
choose between one of them, I'd go Madison. Yeah.
yeah, swap Nunez for Alvarez just because of consistency. Like no, sorry, yeah, Darwin Nunez, sorry, because while he can have those great games, he is still sometimes going missing, and it just doesn't breed confidence for me.
Yeah, I don't think you want that in a fantasy player, really. Like, it's he's one of them where you need to get him in right as he hits a hot streak of form, and then get him out as soon as he's off it. But
Yeah.
you get really lucky for that to happen. You need to keep an eye on it. But he's not a player you can put in and forget about, because he's just going to go missing half the time.
And then, my final one was Robertson in for Trent,
Mm.
because Trent's obviously got a bit of injuries at the moment. Robertson's actually been performing really well. So, and not only for Liverpool, but for Scotland as well. So, I thought overall, those are fairly decent switches, good value for money, and it leaves me £1 million in the bank for my next transfer if I want to upgrade someone like. I've got Bayer at Burnley starting in this one, and I've got Gusto on the bench still. I've got Porro on the bench, so I can swap any one of those for a more expensive defender, or I can maybe swap Anderson as my sub midfielder, who I think actually may get game time against Sheffield United. So I've got him as my first bench option, but could swap him, get someone for 5.5 mil. He's been performing well, so I'm pretty
Yeah,
optimistic about my position now with FPL.
yeah. I've got like 1.3 in the bank, I think, because I want to change. I'm very happy with my starting 11 currently. Um, but my bench looks a bit weak because I've got Baldock, who's injured. He was always going to be like last on the bench anyway, but you don't want an injured player. And I've got
Yeah.
Pau Torres, which is actually a bit fucking disastrous because he got a lovely assist against Crystal Palace, but it was marginally offside.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was such a good ball, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And such a good
and I would have
finish.
I would have got the assist from Torres and the goal from Diaby, but
Yeah. I kept
so
Watkins
I've
in,
got Torres, who I think I will get out because we don't look defensively solid. So
That makes sense. I haven't put a defender in so far because of that. I was tempted to put Cash in at one point, out or Dean, because Dean has had, I think, is it 5 or 6 goal involvements so far,
yeah, something
and he's a
ridiculous.
left back. Cash has scored like 3 goals, and I'm like,
Yeah,
what's going on?
well, I got Torres in like game week 2 or something, and the reason I got Torres and not Cash or Dean is because I'm just constantly fearful of their rotation. Basically, that kind of has backfired, but I don't. I won't. I still won't get Cash or Dean in because, especially now Moreno is back, I just can't really guarantee them starting. Whereas Torres, I can guarantee starting, which is why I got him. But we've just not been defensively solid enough to justify it. Although
Yeah.
our fixtures are fucking amazing.
Oh, who
Um,
I haven't even paid attention to our
well,
fixtures.
after Chelsea and Brighton, we've got Wolves, West Ham, Luton, Forest, Fulham,
Ooh.
Spurs, and then Bournemouth. So we've got a really nice run. So I
Yeah, I might
might
might bring in
just
Cash
keep,
for the Brighton game.
yeah. Um, so yeah, but now I'm happy with my team. I've got Leno in goal, Estupinian, Pinnock, and Botman, which is pretty solid. They've all got good fixtures this week.
Yeah, Botman's back from injury then.
Yeah, Botman's back. He's played 90 minutes the last game, so
Nice.
nothing to worry about. They've got a good run of fixtures as well. The only like weak spot is my second striker, and that's the thing. I've got the money in the bank to upgrade Morris to Alvarez, but Morris has a double game week and he has some nice fixtures
Oh, when's the double game week?
next week. He's got Wolves this week, and then he's got Everton and Burnley in a double game week.
Ooh.
So I think I might keep him in for that, and then if it looks like Alvarez still isn't getting rotated, regardless of like Champions League, then maybe I'll get him out after that double. But I'm pretty happy to have
Yeah.
him for then.
The only thing you could say there is it is Carlton Morris and it is losing.
Yeah, yeah. Um, like Alvarez will probably still outscore him over that time, but I don't know. I'm happy to take the risk. Like I feel like everyone's getting Alvarez, so I don't know. Just do something a bit different. I'm pretty happy with my team overall. That yeah, it'll cover it. And I've got Salah as well, which a lot of people still don't because of his price. So I'm quite happy to have Salah in rather than another City player, for example. So
Yeah, that's fair enough.
yeah,
Looking forward to seeing what they do actually with Doku and Alvarez starting. Oh,
yeah.
they're
Well, I
becoming
think
fun to watch again.
yeah, Doku. I think Doku played left wing last game, and
Yeah,
Alvarez has been playing kind of second striker, like almost number 10.
yeah.
And then Bernardo Silva, I think, played on the right, but he's now got injured as well.
Hmm.
So but Grealish is coming back, so it might be Grealish on the left, Doku on the right.
Well, I looked at the predicted lineup, and I'll tell you what it says, at least on FOTMob, for their injury status. They're predicting for the lineup a Haaland, Doku, Foden, with Alvarez in behind, Rodri and Nunez in the midfield, Walker, Diaz, Akanji, Gvardiol, Ederson. And
Mm.
injury-wise, they're saying Silva out till early October, Grealish
Yeah.
doubtful, Stones a few days, De Bruyne mid-December, Kovacic doubtful, Stefan injured a few days. So FOTMob don't think any of them are going to be playing today. So it's quite promising that Alvarez and Doku will be playing, and Foden at the same
Yeah, I think they
time,
will. I think
which is
I
very
think
exciting.
Grealish will get minutes off the bench maybe because Pep said in his press conference that Grealish could be fit enough to play. So, but that won't be a start.
Yeah.
So yeah, that seems like probably the most likely lineup. Alvarez is not rotation risk at the moment. I don't think.
It's
It's
funny
just when those
because
players come back.
Grealish, while he's technically probably the best at the moment of their wingers, you'd probably say, apart from, unless you count Bernardo Silva as a winger, he's the most boring in a way as well. Like, he's the best for them winning games because of the way he's able to retain the ball, progress the ball,
Yeah,
and recycle it and stretch the opposition. But in terms of actually being fun to watch and producing goals and assists, he's
yeah.
the least fun. He is the least of that,
It's
probably.
weird, isn't it? He's become a really efficient Pep player now, where Pep probably loves him because, like you say, he can just hold on to the ball forever, and he's always out there wide. He's quite disciplined defensively and positionally and stuff. But yeah, he's kind of a bit boring. It's a shame, man. Like
It's such a far cry from the player we had at Villa.
I know we've said this, like everyone's been saying this since he moved. Really, is that it's while you know it's good that he's gone there and winning trophies and he's playing like he had a big role in last season. But it's kind of sucks that he was such a fun player to watch at Villa, and now he's just like this boring guy who just does his job and nothing else.
Yeah. Manager's dream, teacher's pet.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, well, anyway, I think we'll wind it up there. Have a nice short episode. Was that 45 minutes? Bit shorter than we usually do. So
That's
hopefully I
probably
can
a
get
good
this
thing, though, to
uploaded
be
before
honest.
the games actually start. But is there a 12:30 kickoff today?
No, it's quite annoying.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that means at least we have time to see if I can get this uploaded. But yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Like, subscribe, follow, and yeah, we'll be back again next week. So see ya.